Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the BcfcMedia podcast, airing whenever we can be bothered to talk about the Blues at the minute, really. I'm Kieran, your host for this episode. Joining me, I've got Tom, Kane and Elliot. Obviously, got a fair number of things to touch on. It's been a while since we recorded and a lot has happened. We'll start with a positive with the victory over Barnsley at the weekend. Tom, what was your thoughts on the result, first of all?
Much needed result. Probably a 6-pointer sort of result in perspective. But, I think many people have said it. It's sort of, one shit team versus a shitter team. that's literally the only way you can sum it up. On the day we just happened to be less bad, but we still looked unorganised a lot of the time. But thankfully we managed to grind out the result, and if that's the way we need to do it for the rest of the season, then so be it. But my biggest problem is just I feel like every team we play at the moment, I can't actually see our shape. It's very difficult. It just feels like we're all over the place, particularly against Peterborough, but we'll get on to that. But no, overall, we just beat a very, very poor Barnsley side. So, I didn't come away from it like impressed, but I was just happy that we managed to win the game, and that's all that mattered really in the end.
Yeah, I suppose it's a case of just stopping the rise, isn't it, with the sort of run we've been on at the minute. Elliot, what were your views on the game on Saturday?
Yeah, like Tom just touched on, just about the result, wasn't it? I couldn't care less about the rest of the season. The season's Kane put it on Twitter earlier today. I read it and he said season's done. I agree. I think the season's finished. I don't think we're going to go up, we're 100% not going to go up. I can't see us going down or having any problems on the last day. So, yeah, just about grinding out 3 points where we can, just trying to be a little bit better than some of the shit sides near the bottom, really. That's about as enthusiastic as I can get about it, because I think in the first half, I think if Barnsley, had their shooting boots on, I think they could have had one or two. So, it is what it is. 3 points was the main thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, personally, I just think that every game you see a lot of the players that just seem to be ticking over rather than, wanting to go out there and take the ball by the horns and really take the game to the opposition, like Tom and yourself have said, albeit against a pretty shit Barnsley side. But even then, we didn't look like we was up to much. Kane, what did you think of the game against Barnsley?
Yeah, shit, really. We're just repeating ourselves. I think the one bit of quality I think we actually saw in the game was our goal. Djukovic, long ball up to him, good touch, hold up play, knocked it through. Hernandez, good finish. That was the only bit of quality, I think, during the whole game. Another thing I liked on Saturday, I think Jordan, James and Hernandez a couple of times. Between them two, a few good touches. I think that they linked up quite well. But other than that, I think Barnsley, they hit the post, like Elliot said, first half. I think that Adebayo had one tipped over. They had a couple of good chances. Callum Styles had one as well. I think we were lucky, but as we mentioned, I think the only reason that we won the game is because they were probably a bit shitter than us and probably a bit more unlucky than we were. We had that second goal, which weren't cleared properly. I think, yeah, we were lucky because after that 6-2 defeat at Fulham, yeah, we got the point at Preston, but I think if we'd have lost that on Saturday, I think we'd have turned on Bowyer a little bit more, because it's not good to watch at the moment. I ain't bothered as long as we stay up now, but yeah, it's not pretty to watch, and I think that was a must-win. But yeah, look, we got the job done, and we're two games unbeaten now. So yeah, if we win on Sunday, I think that will be it, win it realistically. So
yeah, I mean, it's been a huge week in the fixtures, really, playing all of the bottom three. Obviously, Lee Bowyer will move on to him shortly. Peterborough last night, I think again much more of the same sort of performance as we saw against Barnsley, albeit I think Peterborough actually put a bit more effort in than we saw from Barnsley and seemed a bit more menacing on the counter attack. Elliot, what did you think of the game last night? I know you was considering driving 3.5 hours up to come and watch it.
Yeah, I've got this week off, so as you know, I did text you the night before, the day before, and I thought, shall I come up? 7-hour round trip.
It didn't take you long to change your mind.
Yeah, it did take me long, and I watched it at home. I had the old man come over and we watched it, and so he's not the easiest person to watch a game with at the best of times, but about 75th minute, and the second one went in, he was like, switch it off. I was like, okay, switch it off. That's basically, I'm amazed we made it to the 75th minute. I mean, don't get me wrong, they should never have got that penalty. That penalty was a disgrace. But we didn't deserve anything out of that game until the last 10 minutes. So all in all, the main thing is we didn't lose. If we'd have lost that game, I would be worrying a little bit more today, especially when, don't get me wrong, I don't think Peterborough are going to start, picking up, championship winning form between now and the end of the season. But if they were within 9 points of us with 2 games in hand, you start to, it sort of goes in the back of your head a little bit. But I'm thinking now we'll be okay. I think we'll stagger to the end of the season now. But
yeah, I think the thing about the penalty is, I mean, I kind of shot myself in the foot, and I had it on the red button. I went to put it onto Sky Sports News to see if I could watch a replay of the foul, because I didn't think it looked like a penalty. As I got onto Sky Sports News, they just took the penalty and watched them score it. Then I put it back on red button, and it just got to the point where I was taking the penalty, so I watched it again. So, but I think the thing is, we shouldn't have been in a position where we should be giving away a penalty to go 2-0 down at home to Peterborough anyway. So at the same time, we've only got ourselves to blame to be in that position. But
I'll tell you what impressed me about that penalty. Roberts was a bit quicker than I thought he was. He did turn and actually he caught the geezer up, but he did shove him a little bit in the back. He was going nowhere, and that's why, no offence to Mark Roberts, but that's why he's playing in the Championship with us. No disrespect to our club, but he's never going to go. He's never gone anywhere in his career, because those are the sort of tackles he makes. The guy's going absolutely nowhere. He's got no one to cross to, and he shoved him in the back. And you think, well, why bother? Just see him out. It was indicative of the whole game, really. The game was dreadful, and everyone pointed out on Twitter. There's just playing 3 midfielders in the centre of the park that can't pass the ball between them, and you've got Djukovic up there. It's worse than a statue, and luckily Hogan's actually found his shooting boots the last few games, so he's dug us out of that one again.
Yeah, I mean, Kane, what did you think of last night? I mean, again, similar to Barnsley, wasn't it?
Honestly, watching Blues at home on a Tuesday night, I hate doing it anyway. If we're away, but it's just not meant, especially in the winter when the weather's shit. You can't be arsed watching it. You've had work, and then we just don't do anything. I think we lose every Tuesday at home. We had that Millwall the other season. We lost 1-0. It's just horrible to watch on a Tuesday, the Blues. And I think for the first goal yesterday, I just thought, fuck, this is just going to be a long 90 minutes. When Woods passed it, I don't know why Sunjic was in the 10 spot anyway in that role. Woods give it to him, Sunjic in possession. I thought, this is it. He can't pass it forward anyway. It's like a hot potato when Sunjic has got the ball. And then as soon as they break, to be fair to them, I thought they broke quite well. And now right back, I think it was Poku. I've never seen him play before, and I thought, oh my, who the fuck is this bloke? Like, he was unreal. I thought, like Cafu, I genuinely thought he was turning, he was doing roulette. But we're making this bloke look like he's just won the Ballon d'Or. It was just that left-hand side yesterday. Pedersen, he's another one I think needs to be moved on. Flat-footed all the time. Anyone with a bit of pace, you'd fancy yourself, you get against him every time, one-on-one. But yeah, rubbish. I felt a bit sorry for Jordan James, having Sunjic and Woods next to him all night. I think that's our problem, and it's going to be for a long time. Sunjic has got to go in the summer. I know everyone says, he's doing all the dirty work for us. We're a better side when he's in the team. We are, because we haven't got anyone who's as good as him, and there's plenty of Championship midfielders holding that are half his price and could do exactly the same job, if not better. So he's got to go in the summer, and Woods isn't a starter. So yeah, we need to sort the midfield out, and just go for it for the rest of the season. Now we're not going down. We've got people coming back: Chong, Taylor Richards, hopefully Bakuna coming in, Hernandez. just go for it. We've been watching shit all season. Let's go and play some attractive football and score some goals.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Tom, you agree?
Yeah, I agree with pretty much all of that. To be honest, you highlight the Peterborough team in particular. You look at sort of their wide players. You had, I think it's Barley Mumba on loan from Norwich, who was previously at Sunderland, never really expected to be anything. Moving to wing back, all of a sudden he's one of the better wing backs in the division at the moment. And then Kwame Poku has been injured pretty much all season. He's only really had loan spells at Colchester, where in fairness he did light it up when they had a decent season, but they've not moved from there, sadly. But yeah, no, there are some little talents, and even Callum Morton, when he came on, I was like, oh fucking hell, here comes Ginger Grealish. It was you could see they had little talents in their squad, but just overall, for some reason, Peterborough just seemed to collapse in the last 15 minutes. I don't know what went wrong. They were so organised for so long, and they looked a much better side than us. I was like, how are they where they are? They've literally battered us twice this season, and it's embarrassing when you think about it. But no, and thankfully, despite our piss poor organisation, we've somehow managed to find a way back into the game. It's actually a really good strike from Gardner, to be fair. Watching it back, it's tough to keep those low. So fair play to him. And then obviously, we've got a bit of a break with playing three wingers down the left side, which is interesting in itself. Get Bella on, he's obviously going to cross well. Same for Graham, obviously with that Dukey sitter that it's painful the more you watch it at the moment. But no, Hogan just showed how he's got that fox in the box ability, and we've somehow managed to salvage a point, but we didn't deserve anything from the game. I thoroughly believe that. But then Peter, no one has actually conceded more goals in the last 15 minutes of a game this season than Peterborough have. It's, it's their Achilles heel. So, we've done well to take advantage of that, but that still doesn't really, it doesn't take away from the performance itself, because it was depressing. So many people were leaving at as soon as the penalty went in at the 69th minute or whatever, including my dad. My dad buggered off back to the car. So I was just sat there in the cop corner by myself, but I'm glad I stayed in the end. But no, at the end of the day, the performance still isn't good enough. You're at home to Peterborough, but we always do that against sides like that. You get those shit League Two club size sort of clubs that come down, and then we just always seem to lose. And it's always on a Tuesday night, like a Wickham or someone like that. Just those tiny, minuscule clubs that come and do us, and it's so embarrassing every time. But no, overall, you take the point considering where we were, but in the grand scheme of things, it's still not good enough. So. We definitely need to respond against Derby, but do I see us doing that? No, not really. I don't fancy us at all for that game, especially with what's sort of on the line for Derby. You never know; it could even be their last game. So I just feel like they'll be more up for it. They've almost sold out their home attendance. I just think it's going to be one of those unenjoyable days for Blues, really.
9 times out of 10, you can guarantee that it is when we go to Pride Park, isn't it? With the exception of last season, that was quite a feel-good game when we was there.
I'll always love that Sunjic goal, though. I went flying down so many stairs when that went in. It was class. It was absolutely class.
I mean, obviously, like you say, that the one thing that it's important to remember, and yeah, it was an exciting final 10 minutes or so last night, but we can't let the final 10 minutes cloud the fact that the first 80 minutes in the run-up to that just wasn't good enough at all. Players didn't seem to know what they were doing. They weren't in the right position. At one point, we had 3 players trying to play down the left wing. The defence, with the exception of Mengi at times, just completely unorganised. Collan and Pedersen are so far in their comfort zones. It's unreal. I mean, there used to be a time when myself and even Elliot on the podcast used to praise Collan and say, we thought he was a really, one of the better right backs in the league. Where that Collan's gone, I don't know. But Pedersen, like Kane said, he needs to move on now. His contract's as good as up. He ain't going to be staying beyond the summer. If we can convince anyone to pay a fee, then you've got to do it, haven't you? But then who do you bring in to replace him at this stage? Elliot's dying to say something here as well.
I was just thinking of last night. what do you boys make of Pedersen going off at half time for Bella? When I saw Bella coming on, I thought, oh, he's going to come on for. I thought James, to be fair, and I think James has been really good, but I just thought he looked like he was getting pushed about a bit. He just looked a bit lost in there with two players that, let's be honest, aren't very good footballers. And I just thought maybe take him out of the fire a little bit and put Bella on and go with two wingers. And he's put him on for Pedersen, and I thought, what on earth has he done here? I don't know whether he's had a bit of a ruck in the changing rooms with Pedersen, or he's just fed up with him at this point in time.
He said it, didn't he, Bowyer, after the game? He said, I thought that, to be fair, and I think he come out, Bowyer, I think it was after the game, and said every time Pedersen was getting the ball, I think he had 6 or 7 crosses in the first half. That were hard.
Straight at the keeper.
They weren't beating the first man, or they were straight to the keeper. And I think Bowyer said that, Bella's both-footed anyway, come on. And he's seen an opportunity to get proper, decent deliveries in, which he did with both goals. So I think it was from the crossing aspect where Bella come on. And it worked in the end, to be fair. And even when he brought Bella on at left wing back, at the time I thought, just switch the formation. Let's go to a flat back 4, put them on as wingers. But I think that's another thing. He's not a left winger anyway. I think if we play him left wing, you've only got to look at, get the ball in the box. Even Jordan Graham's cross from that the Djukovic should have scored. They're quality crosses of the ball. We're overcomplicating it, trying all this thing. You just get the ball in the box. Because that's all we can do, really, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned what Bowyer said. So I've got the Birmingham Mail's transcript here. And so when he was asked, can you account for the first 85 minutes? His response was, no, we had Christian in good positions in the first half to put a decent ball in the box. And it must have been 6, 7, 8, maybe 10 times. He just kept floating it to the keeper. That's the basics. Hit your areas. We work on it all the time. And that's why I took him off at half time. So his patience has run out with him by the sounds of it. And, maybe it is a case of there was the rumours that he was meant to be as good as done to Brentford. So is it a case as well? He's thought if there is chance he goes in the next few days, is there a point of risking an injury if you're set to get a fee for him rather than lose him for free?
There's that. I think there's that. And I think either that or we haven't got if we're planning on getting a left wing back in or a left back, that hasn't happened yet. So we can't afford to sell him. But then again, we brought Bella in at left wing back, who started most of the first games, and Pedersen played left centre half. So I think we'll end up bringing a left back in. I think, but yeah, Pedersen, enough's enough. And Bowie said it, didn't he? After he says we've got to change things, basically meaning Pedersen's shit, Sunjic is shit, and Djukovic probably can't do it week on week anymore, unfortunately. And I love the bloke, but yeah, I think yesterday. You've only got to look at that miss. He didn't do anything all game. He had a chance in the first half that Hogan put on a plate for him. Couldn't put it wide. Maybe a penalty, probably not. And then that header, you've got to score. So yeah, we need change in the summer. And I think Bowyer knows that. But who's going to pay a fee for these players?
Well,
it's
the wages.
It tells you something that Harley Dean's had to end up going out on loan in the end because we just simply couldn't find anyone who wanted him permanently. I think that tells you all you need to know. These players,
not on the wages he's on. He's on Premier League.
Exactly.
Wages, realistically.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then you think, these players, it's all too easy. I think, like I say, I've got Bowyer's the transcript here. So obviously this was just before Dean was announced today. So they said, talk of Harley going to Wednesday. Can you comment? I think that's going to happen. That should help free up a little bit of money. Explain the thinking in moving Harley on. He said, I think there needs to be change. Some people are just in their comfort zone. I think that if you don't change, we'll be in this situation every year. Yes, he is the club captain, but I demand certain things and I expect certain things to happen, and that is why he is moving on. So, I mean, he came out at the start of this month, didn't he, as well, and said, we've already told Harley that if there's an opportunity, he'll be going. It seems like he's going to be the first of many of these players that unfortunately hasn't worked out for them from especially the couple of the players from the Redknapp era still. Obviously, Colin being, is he the only survivor now?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe Roberts as well.
Oh, Roberts as well. Yeah, who we've just given his contract to.
To be fair, I
can only assume is he on? Has he took the same? He's not asked for
Oh no, I
to get a
imagine
pay rise, has he?
I imagine unless his contract wasn't silly in the first place, I imagine he would have had a little bit of a pay cut, or you'd like to hope, but fuck knows, it's Blues.
It was silly in the first place. He's on 20k plus a week, Roberts. He was last deal. Yeah, because that's what they're saying. The contracts that we handed out before, this is why the owners don't want to spend any money now, because the contracts are ridiculous. Mark Roberts played for Halifax for 2 years before we give him a 24 grand a week.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. So he won't be on that anymore. I'd be surprised if it's even half that now, because he's coming nowhere else. He's to be fair to Roberts, he's a mediocre bottom end of a championship centre half, but does a job, wins headers, scores you a couple of goals a season. Don't mind Roberts being in the team. But yeah, as I say, he won't all be on a fraction of what he was on in his last deal. Therefore,
right then, I think Harley Dean next season will be a full-time dog breeder, because I don't see anyone taking his wages. And if he's League One standard now, which he is League One standards, no one's paying him 20 grand a week.
I think all our centre halves are League One standard, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't think it's many players we've got that are League One standards, to be honest. But apart from the ones on loan,
I think the other interesting thing to take from what Bowyer was saying after the game last night. So the other question was, is anyone else going out? And his response was simply, there needs to be change, and that's all I'm saying. So
go then. If you're going to reel them off, who's going for next Monday?
I genuinely, I said this last night to my partner when I was watching the game, I would not be sorry to see the back of any of them. The only players that I actually enjoy watching, with the exception of JJ, is the lone players, and they're not even ours to get rid of in the first place anyway. So I really couldn't care less. I think Pedersen's going to go anyway if we can get a fee for him. And the rest of them, I mean, you could draw the name out of a hat, as far as I'm concerned. If you can find a taker for them, then get them gone.
See, I had this conversation the other day with a few other lads. I just put it straight. I was like, keep or sell. And they're still sort of saying most of them keep. And I'm just there like, no, I'd be selling most of these lads. Even then, define the term selling. You're pretty much giving them away, because that's the only way we'll get rid of them, realistically. But I think this squad needs a complete rewrite. There's been such a losing mentality within it for good 3-4 years now, realistically, and it's just the same old shit, different season. Start well, if things go to shit sort of in the middle of the season, and then we'll turn into Barca 08-09 for the last 7 or 8 games. And I'm just tired of the same circle all the time. New manager bounce whenever we've sacked whoever. I'm just sick of it. I really am sick of it. So I'm glad Bowyer is trying to sort of take the action that's needed to actually keep him in a job, to be honest, because if he sticks with them, it'll only cost himself, realistically. So, Craig needs to work on that as soon as possible, and so do the club, and just work on getting them out as soon as possible. And you could literally get at least 2 or 3 good, decent sort of League One players at the moment for just one of the players' wages that we've got at the moment. There's so much talent out there. I mean, you mentioned earlier about our midfield being so poor, and how Sunjic, he does sort of that pressing, that sort of, hard tackling. We had that in Kieftenbeld, if not better, realistically. He is just a bit of a beat at Kieftenbeld, but we gave him away for free. And I can't imagine Kieftenbeld was probably on that much money either, compared to Sunjic. So that's frustrating in itself. But you look at Jack Taylor for Peterborough the other night. I thought he was fantastic. There's plenty of players out there, particularly 1 or 2 gems at the sides that are going down. Derby, Barnsley, Peterborough, so many good midfielders in there as well. Like the likes of Max Bird and Louis Sibley, you could probably particularly get on the cheap at the moment, and I'd be all for that. Be kind of weird seeing Louis Sibley play for Blues though, because he went to the school across the road from mine.
He's worth more than Jude Bellingham though, isn't he? So if you could get him from
that old classic, yeah.
If you could get him from Derby for a pack of peanuts, and then yeah, you do it, don't you? He's obviously a good player.
I'd have taken Graham Shinney if he's going for 30k. I'd have taken Graham Shinney over Ivan Sunjic all day.
I was better than what we've got.
That's worrying, isn't it? That's
I don't know
scary
how
to
Wigan
think.
have done that. I really don't.
You look at it though, and you think the thing is Derby as well. If they're in a situation where it's a case of they've got to consider any bid for any player, there is 5, 6, 7 of their players that you could find a place for in our, especially in our match day squad. If they're not going to start, which to be honest, you look at the results they've had and the performances they put in, they walk into our starting 11 at the minute. Most of them anyway. But like the likes of Tom Lawrence, I'd take Tom Lawrence. I mean, I'm guessing he's on a fair wage, to be honest, but he's a decent player. Like you say, Sibley, Max Bird, these players, Graham Shinney, who's gone to Wigan, these players, if they are taking 30k for Shinney, why aren't we in there? Why aren't? It makes you wonder why other clubs wasn't in there as well. But
I know, yeah. If I could take one player from Derby, it'd be Festi Ebasele. I think he's got
Yeah,
a bright
100%.
future.
Yeah, I agree. 100%.
Good right wing back.
I'll tell you who I would want as well. I think who's going to leave Blues. I think Pedersen will go. I think Ivan Sanchez is going to go. I think he'll be off back to Spain. Not that we forget about him, but he's probably on a decent wage.
Oh yeah,
I'd keep Sanchez personally, but it's obvious Bowie didn't fancy him last season after the game. Come on at Derby, ripped it up. But I feel a bit sorry for him. I think we could probably get a bit more out of him. But yeah, one after wage bill probably doesn't fit the mould of what Bowie wants. I think coming in, I'm going to make a prediction now. At left wing back, if Pedersen goes, I think we'll go for Alfie Doherty at Stoke, who Bowie had at Charlton. I think he's played 10, 11 times in the Championship for Stoke this season, probably getting for about 500, 600 grand wing back. When Djukovic, I think it was Harley Dean equalised, didn't it? No, it was Djukovic when we drew 1-1 at St Andrews and Bowie in charge. I think that Doherty played left wing back and he was really good.
He absolutely ran rings around us, didn't he?
Why aren't we going for them? But he's 22. It's another one that's a sellable asset in 4 or 5 years. And I think another one, if we can go for him, is that Lee Butchernan at left wing back for Derby.
Oh yeah, Lee Buchanan. Yeah, he's decent. I think Forest have wanted him for ages.
Yeah, but they're not going to want to sell to them. They'd rather him sell to the Blues than Forest, just for a fact that they can't have that over them.
Forest actually offered them a 7-figure bid as well, didn't they?
Yeah, so if we can do that, if they'd rather sell to us, they want to take someone new in the opposite direction.
Exactly. I mean, I actually watched Doherty from Stoke not that long ago because I went to the FA Cup game between Stoke and Leyton Orient the day after Blues lost to Plymouth, and he ran the show. He won man of the match comfortably. Literally destroyed Orient down that left side, and every single cross found a head. So I'd be all for it. And yeah, obviously that's against League Two opposition, but it's against a half decent Kenny Jackett side. They're actually doing quite well in League Two this season. But yeah, no, I like the look of him, so I'd be all for that.
Get us a win back.
Yeah, I think it is a case of obviously we've got the rumoured, well, that's not even the rumoured now, pretty much done and dusted Lyle Taylor and Janini Bakuna coming in. And then I think after that, it is probably a case of we just one in, one out, replace anyone that we get rid of between now and the close of the window. So yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see who they bring in to replace Peds. I know we had that young lad in the under-23s from, who was he at Swansea last year? And they said Swansea got rid of him because of injury woes, and then he came into the under-23s and went off injured. So
we take every club's fodder all the time, so I'm not all too surprised.
I think it says something, doesn't it, when we thought we were signing Brentford's 3 best players, and then 4 or 5 years later we've got rid of 2 of them now. The other one's just only in there because there's no other options, and Brentford are the league above us. So,
do you know what? I was chatting about this the other day. Missing out on James Hill. Realistically, obviously Bournemouth are a much wealthier club than us, but club size wise, we are so much bigger than fucking Bournemouth, and it frustrates me that we're not able to beat Bournemouth to the signing of James Hill, when realistically there's more chance he'll get game time at Blues than he will at Bournemouth. Let's be honest. But no, it just annoys me because we are a big club and we are probably top 3 biggest clubs in this division realistically. So it just frustrates me that that's not even a pull anymore. Like it's like playing for Birmingham City isn't appealing or attractive at all. We don't really have a pot to piss in. realistically. And I find, the stand closures being quite demotivating for a player as well. Like it's just not a nice place to play at the moment, St Andrews.
I agree with that. I think 10 years ago, I think what a player looks for when they're moving to a club's changed completely. I think 10 years ago, when everyone was on that, other than Man U, Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, there was a level playing field between us and all the other Premier League and Championship clubs, really, in terms of, stadium, all the same. Match day experience probably wasn't much different. But even now, you're looking at the training grounds, the facilities, they're just head and shoulders above what we can offer players. So, as I say, I think we should be getting the hills of the world ahead of Bournemouth. But, as I say, we're probably 3-4 times as big a club than they are.
Exactly.
But, as I say, it's just changed. And I think even Bristol City, you look at them, we're twice as big as Bristol City. They're not a big club. They've been in the Championship for 3-4 years, maybe max. Never been in the Premier League. Development of the stadium, this, that, and the other, new training ground. It's just more attractive. Why are they doing that? And another thing, I think my dad's friend said it to me. You've got West Brom. Yeah, they're in the Championship. They've got 15, 20 million pound players in the side still. Carl Grant, Dean Garner, all those players. Wolves, obviously, the Villa, and even Coventry now, we're behind all these clubs.
It's depressing. It's seriously depressing. Like, just it's tough to watch all the clubs around you do so well, and you just have to sort of sit here and just take it.
But you see all these clubs, like say Bournemouth, a tiny club, and they're growing in every aspect. I know they've got the money from the Premier League. They're staying in the Premier League and whatnot. The parachute payments. That's another debate for another time. But whether that's right or wrong. But we seem to have these owners that are at the roulette table, aren't they? And a couple of years ago, they thought they're just intent on gambling and just trying to get to the Premier League where they know the money is, and they know the prestige is. Whereas we had real proper, knowledgeable people in charge of this football club that know football. They know that you have to build from the bottom up. You have to build the infrastructure. And like Kane was saying, I bet the training ground is dreadful. And you only got to look at some of the videos that go out on social media, and it looks like the manager's still got an office in a porter cabin. And it just looks dreadful. And the stadium is it's an utter disgrace, really, how it's got to this stage. The fact that supporters weren't allowed in the ground for 6 months, and they've left it till now. So it's still ongoing. But I just think that these owners just do not give a shit, as we know, and they've got no interest in trying to improve any facet of the football club whatsoever. They're just deluded, seem to think they can throw a few quid at it one summer and try and get to the Premier League. It's not going to happen. We're at the bottom now, and we need to reset and go again, don't we? I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's always going to be concerning when a car salesman is basically running the ongoings at your club, and he likes to tell people on Twitter that he's a bit naughty sometimes. Like, it is fairly concerning.
Jesus. It's worrying.
I think that's it. You mentioned the fact that he's a car salesman, and you look at the other absolute fucking idiocy in the way they've run the club from day dot, really. And you think, what Elliot basically said, just thought that they could come in for a bit of money. You got Harry Redknapp, he's obviously going to take you up because you've rushed 10 really expensive, ridiculously paid players through the door. And then obviously it's all gone to shit from there. Then when they've suddenly, and then they haven't got a clue because they've never done it before. They don't have a clue what they're doing from day to day. There was never until this year with Gardner obviously having a hand in the signings, but there was never a football brain up there to try and steer the ship, so to speak. It's just gone down the drain, day by day. We're in free fall, aren't we, from that point of view, really?
Yeah, and I think that's what they said in that. If you want to talk about the meeting after last week, there's loads to be said on that.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, I think they're going to probably bring in a new CEO, aren't they? Because Cheng is useless. The powers above him, Swen, fucking whoever else, Mr. King, if he's actually
Wang Yahuri.
They didn't have any trust in Cheng. This is a fact. That's why Dong still had a job, because he was a bit more of a charmer than Cheng was. People liked him. Got more of the football side, believe it or not, than Cheng. But obviously, I feel a bit sorry for, not Dong, because he was a fucking dickhead anyway, with all the spending, this, that, and the other. And he was the one that sanctioned us getting into this mess in the first place with the contracts. But he fucked it up. But Cheng, I feel a bit sorry for him. He's obviously a donut, but he's not in charge, and he's not really making all the decisions, truth be told. But because there's no face there to show us who owns the business, he's the only one we can have a go at, and he's always going to be on the firing line. And I think he gets to every Blues game. He wasn't there on Tuesday, so I don't think we'll see him on. We'll see him on Sunday because it's at Pride Park and it's not at St Andrews, and he's not running for his safety. But I think we won't see Cheng at St Andrews now for a while. But yeah, we need to bring a CEO in. There's a few, even someone like, I hate to mention them, but they've got that Christian Purcell at the Villa who's done an unreal job. Why can't we bring someone in that's been in football for 15, 20, 25 years? Not Craig Gardner.
Football and financial background, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So even Craig Gardner coming in, I feel, again, Craig Gardner's another one. Would he be a technical director anywhere else other than Birmingham City? No, he wouldn't even be in the recruitment or insight or that tactical, technical role. So he's always going to, without these in charge, Gardner's job's done. He won't be here if there's new owners. So Gardner, believe it or not, if you're thinking him, you're thinking, the longer these are here, the more experience I'm getting, I might get a sniff at another job if these go. So get a CEO in, do a proper audit of the club, see what's needed. But that needs to happen now. If they're not going to sell up, I think they will, which we'll come on to. We need to get a CEO in.
100. Yeah. I think Gardner was just to please the fans, though. In the short term, realistically, it was like, let's slap Craig Gardner on the face of things. That'll appease the fans for now. They'll be happy with that.
Craig, it was a jobs for mates, though, wasn't it? It was a jobs for mates situation.
Yeah, pretty much. I think their whole business structure is jobs for mates, though. I think, I was saying this the other day. It's sort of like, I don't want to employ someone to run a football club that's actually good at running a football club. I've got a couple of mates from my old boarding school. Oh, mate, do you fancy managing this? He's like, oh, what is it? It's a football club. What's one of them? I'll do it anyway. And that's essentially what it's fucking like. It's just embarrassing. I don't know how they managed to pass the EFL fit and proper test, and that's what pisses me off about the EFL. Is so many owners end up in the football world like this because they don't check properly. I mean, this Mr. King bloke, Wang Hui or whatever, he's got 12 passports. 12. That says a lot in itself. And this isn't hard stuff to find. This has all been found by just a fairly average bloke who just supports the Blues in Daniel Ivory. He's just done his research properly and found out all this himself. So it's just like, why can't the EFL do that? It's all online. It's there for all to see.
Yeah, and you mentioned his name. Obviously, credit where it's due for Daniel, because he's kept the fans in the loop with all the insight he can, and much more than anyone, even related to club or outside of the club, has done over the past, however long now, really. 12 passports is absolutely insane. Never heard anything like it. But yeah, I mean, Kane, you mentioned about obviously them thinking now south. So obviously give us your insight into what you think, your thought process about it.
I think they'll sell. I think I don't believe that Cheng actually knows what's going on above him. Because they don't trust him. Someone told me, and I believe he's a reliable bloke, that Mr. King was involved with the club, and now he isn't involved with the club in terms of ownership and how it works. So Mr. King isn't involved, and it's all through Swen. That's what I've heard. Now, I don't think Swen. Well, Cheng said that he has a daily report into Swen, which he probably not. I'm not convinced that happens anyway. Every single day, I just don't see that. I mean, Swen's not that bothered. He's got his fingers in loads of different pies. So, I think they'll sell the club before the end of the season. If I'm being honest, heard it off a couple of people that's going to happen. So
I hope so.
I hope so. As I say, I'm not just spouting shit and saying that. I wouldn't come on here and say I think they'll sell the club to lie about it. There's too many people on Twitter who call me fucking.
I was going to say if it doesn't happen, you'll get so much stick now.
Oh yeah, but I think it'll happen, just because I don't believe what they're saying. They're still not spending much money when we desperately need to do that. Even the links with Josh Maja. Do I believe that we actually thought we were going to sign Josh Maja? No chance. It's just a bit of propaganda that hopefully reaches the media to say, oh, these lot are having a go. At least they're trying to do the right things. Get sellable assets in 3-4 years. I think it's all bollocks. I think it's all a smokescreen. But yeah, as I say, with the meeting, I think I don't know where to start on it really. No proper fans were invited from the younger generation. You got the Blues Trust, who showed the true colours today. They've now deleted that article.
Yeah, I saw that.
And then you've got the Tilton Talk Show. I believe they might have been there. Might be wrong, but they're liking all the posts. I just don't get it. And then they've got people posting on Facebook saying, oh, we've got to get behind and come on, Blues fans.
Linda Court of Redditch Blues.
Yeah, I just don't get it. And I don't get how you could side with them after all this has happened. And not to put a bit of food on, come on down, we're trying Q&A. But Richard Wilford said, to be fair to him, you could ask whatever you wanted, but it's whether you believe the shit, which I don't know how you could. So with the meeting, forget that. That was just because they started shitting themselves with the letters that went to the Hong Kong Stock Exchange, the protests, social media. They just shit themselves. And I think unless they get the real fans there, which that a lot of fans won't even go to the actual meeting, they won't accept the invite. There's nothing they can do. So they'll have to sell the club. But as I say, if we keep putting our money in, which we're going to do, obviously, they haven't got a reason to sell. So I think the protests that are coming up will get good media attention, but I just can't see them staying by the end of the season. I can't. But I don't know what you lot think about that.
I agree. I don't see any benefit in them staying. I've never really seen much benefit in them staying as long as they have, to be honest. They've never really had a clear idea. I think I remember when they first actually bought the club, they were like, oh, we'll get it up to the Premier League, then sell it. That was the original, that was the only thing they actually came out with when they first came to the club. Since then, nothing. Like, no real... You've heard 3-year plans from Dong, 3-year plans from Cheng and Gardner. I'm still awaiting Champions League football and Jude Bellingham to come back.
That was this season.
Yeah, exactly. So I just can't be asked. I hope they go, and I do feel like they will eventually, either this season or next, hopefully. But the protests that are definitely being planned are good. I just hope people get behind it, because I think it's been a real effort to actually try and get some people to get involved in it. Because it's like, most people that sit in the Tilton will probably get involved in it. Then you've sort of got to get that, the rest of the COP to join in, the sort of more family areas to, get involved. And it was nice to see people, standing up and getting involved in, stand up if you hate the board. I feel like those sort of chants, if you're sitting down, you can't sit down. So you've got to get them involved. You've got to do everything you can to get everyone together. And it's difficult. It is difficult, sadly, but the people that have orchestrated it, fair play. It's costly as well to do all the banners and shit. So fair play. And if there's sort of whistles and masks coming up, that'll be good as well. It might hurt your ears, but it's what's got to be done.
Yeah, Elliot, last word from you on your thoughts of potential sale. Will they? Won't they?
I mean, I hope Kane's right. I hope they do go. I can't see them going. I just think as long as they've got that whiff of the potential of Premier League and all that bollocks, which is what, I know they don't particularly care. Like Kane said, they've got many fingers in many pies, and this is just so they can list their businesses on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange. But I don't know about you boys, but I would take going into administration if it got rid of these lot. I'd even take relegation. I just think this club needs a complete reset and some proper owners involved now.
Well, to be fair, I spoke to Richard Beale a few months back, and he said he would take relegation to the National League to get this out. that was, that's coming from someone who was obviously in the firing line at the club, someone who's been there in front of them essentially, and obviously had a bit of a voice at the club anyway because of the amount of time he spent there, and they just didn't like that, and he met his end because of it. So I feel like that says a lot in the type of people that currently are involved in the club anyway. So
Paul Robinson, when we sat down and done our interview with him, told us something very similar along the lines of, he was effectively forced out of the club because of he wasn't willing to just sit there and accept what was happening. So I think, I think I'm siding with Elliot in the sense of I can't see them going. Unfortunately, I'd love to be wrong. I just feel like they're too stubborn, and like Kane says, whilst people are still putting the money in and buying the tickets, and nothing's changing for them in that sense. So what's the incentive either way?
Yeah, I do think they'll go through. To be fair,
I hope you're right, Tom. I think let's be honest. These lot, I don't know how much in debt they are at the moment. It was 120 million at one point. I know it's probably come down a bit. It's not about the money anymore for them. It's that I don't think they give a toss about the money. I don't think they would particularly care if 1,000 people turned up at the next home game. In fact, I just don't think they would give a shit. And I'm not saying that relegation would get rid of this lot. Probably wouldn't. But if you gave me the option right now, relegation, and these lot went, I would take it. I really do think this club could fully rebuild. But I just hope Kane's right. I hope the message has got through over there now, and they're now thinking twice about it.
I think that's the mindset we've got. Like I'm more optimistic now because I think we have to be optimistic, because if we're not,
it won't happen.
We won't keep doing what we're doing.
Keep going.
I just try and change it now.
Yeah.
I think by the end of the season, something's going to click with them. I think it's going to happen, and I think whilst we're just a financial vehicle to them at the moment, and the money's still coming in, they've still got the listing on the stock exchange. Yeah, have they got any real desire to do it? Probably not. But there's interest there. Tom Ross, he mentioned that was it Mark Ward who's leading consortium?
Yeah,
doesn't know where to start. Apparently, I believe that because apparently Mark Wood did say it at one of the forums, and I know a bloke that was there, and he mentioned it again. Wealthy backers. It's not even about the wealth. We're not bothered about having real wealth. As long as you put in 4 to 5 million in for a few seasons, that's all you need in the championship, and you're competitive after the end of the year too. Be sustainable, have a few sellable assets. We're bringing the youth through. We're starting to do it. But again, other than Jordan James, probably Bellingham, who do we get any money for? We don't get any money for anyone. So, as I say, we don't own the ground either. That's a completely different matter. So I think at the moment, with the fans getting on the backs, I just think it's going to happen. And I think even little things like Cheng changing his cover photo and the communication with him, I just don't think it's a good look for him. And I think the pressure's mounting and they're feeling it a little bit now. Daniel Ivory's posting loads and loads of stuff, which is obviously getting seen by him in Cambodia. Let's wait and see. I'm optimistic. I'm going to say by the end of the season, I'm going to say we're going to be sold. And everyone needs to hear that, because I just think if we don't think like that, it's not going to happen.
Need to have that optimism, That's at least some motivation to make sure it fucking happens. Just get out there, get in the protests. I've enjoyed them, to be honest. I think they've been a good laugh as well. It's not just getting the message across, but it's been good to feel that unity back again with Blues, because I feel like it's been missing for a couple of seasons, because essentially the soul has been ripped out. I was saying it the other day, they don't even have the TVs on in the concourse anymore for Sky. You don't have the bloke selling badges outside anymore. All the burger fans have disappeared. Just everything's been stripped so slowly, and it feels like it could slowly come back, and the protests have definitely brought some belief to that. But hopefully we'll see. Be interesting to see if anything happens at Derby, which is probably a nice segue to sort of preview Derby, to be fair. But
definitely.
I was going to say, last little thing, obviously, before we wrap it up, just quick predictions for Derby on Sunday. Elliot, you can go first.
Look, I think it'd be a Derby win. I think they look a good side, to be fair. Derby are playing with that siege mentality, nothing to lose. Wayne Rooney's. He looked atrocious last season, didn't he? And then this season, he seems to have just got them all playing. And I think it's just because there's no pressure on them. They've probably gone in there and said, look, lads, you're down, you're relegated. Just go out and enjoy yourselves. And he's blooded all the youth and they've got no pressure on their shoulders. I think it'll become a little bit more difficult for them if they start to get sort of close to safety. I mean, within 3 to 6 points, the pressure might come on them a little bit. But I think as for this Sunday, I'm expecting 2 or 3-0 Derby, unfortunately. But, you know, I don't know about you boys, what are you thinking?
It's a tough one, really, isn't it? I've not been positive about this game at all. I'm normally, to be honest, that person who will predict Blues to go, oh yeah, 1-0 Blues, 2-1 Blues. Not this game. I've just got, Derby have so much on the line with it possibly being their last home game. You don't even know anymore. I just feel like they'll be more up for it. They have more to fight for right now, realistically, and they're better on the pitch than us at the moment. Yeah, you could look. We've beaten them once this season, but I think they've grown a lot as a team since then. Obviously, they are losing a few players, but if they can keep the current crop that beat Sheffield United the other day, then they'll be fine. They'll be fine. Against us, we won't offer too much. So I do feel like we will lose that game 3-0. It depends, obviously, how we set up actually as well, because I don't feel like you can predict the shape or the formation or what he's going to go for at the moment. I do feel like if he utilises wingers, then I do think we'd have a chance, to be fair, of at least getting something from the game. But if we keep playing the way we're playing, we will get murdered.
Yeah, and then what about yourself, Kane? Prediction for Sunday?
Yeah, depends on the formation, doesn't it? I think if we go with the wingers, Bella on one side, Hernandez on the other. Hopefully we'll have 2 signings, Taylor and Bakuna. I think Bakuna's got to go straight into the lineup for me, probably. We can't have Sunjic, Woods and James in the middle, and especially not Gardner. I know we scored the goal on Tuesday. I think we need energy. They're going to be right up for it. I hope they sort themselves out, Derby, but, fuck them on Sunday. But I think, I'd go with, in the middle, I'm going to go with Sunjic, Bakuna, maybe Gardner, because of the energy they're going to bring. But I'll go 2-0 Derby. I think they'll be up for it, and there's a good crowd. So, yeah, depends on the formation. I think it'll be a draw if we have wingers. If not, 2-0 Derby.
Yeah, I was going to say, I can't see. I know Tom alluded to possibly Derby, being the last game, but I can't see it. I think they'll be on a proper high. I think their preferred bid is pretty much looking nailed on now, and there's too many parties that are going to lose big money if they go to the wall. So it's not going to happen, especially the taxman, which is the government. So they've already stepped. It looks like they're stepping in now. So they'll do all they can to keep Derby afloat now, just so they're these parties get their money, Middlesbrough, Wickham, etc., and the government. So, Derby will be fine. It's just about who takes them over, really, and how much it's going to cost whoever takes them over. But yeah, go on, Kay. Give us your 3-0 Birmingham prediction, mate.
No, I've not got much more to say. I think you've ticked all the boxes. I think go with wingers. We've got half a chance to get something. He's very stubborn, though, isn't he, in his formation, his options. So I don't think that'll be the case. I think 2 or 3-0 Derby looks realistic. I think we're toothless going forward. Even with the new signings, they're going to take time to gel into the side. So, I'll go 2-0 Derby. And on that positive note, I think we'll wrap it up there.
Proper shit ass if Lyle Taylor was the winner, though.
Oh, mate, I'll get some money on that.
To be fair, I imagine he'd give some stick to Derby fans, because why not?
I'd play Taylor and Hogan, not Djukovic, by the way. But
100%.
Yeah, bit of movement and some fresh legs.
Just some movement, mate. It'd be nice.
Just fucking anything. Anything will do. I don't
Just
care.
someone up front with a pulse, mate, would be good.
Jesus.
I mean, like I say, obviously, we'll wrap it up there. Thanks for coming on and speaking with us. If you are attending the Derby game or the Sheffield United game, obviously the Sheffield United game's got the faceless mask protest if you can, and any fans listening or watching, get involved. Obviously, support the boys, support the lads, but not the owners. That's the key message to get across here. It's nothing to do with the players or Bowyer, for that matter. It is the people way above their heads that need to be gone. Again, thanks, lads, for joining me. We'll get our heads together again after the Derby game in a couple of weeks and have a look and see how we're getting on. But until then, yeah, thanks for listening.